Uganda, cars know how to lie. Yes, they know how to lie. They look clean, they smell nice, the AC is cold, the seller is confident, the rims are shining, the interior is screaming, please take me home. But behind all that beauty, lies an engine that is waiting to finish your savings, a gearbox waiting to embarrass you on the road, a hybrid battery that's about to stop working, or even warning lights that were hidden before you came. Today, we are talking about cars you should not buy without inspection. Welcome to For the Love of Cars. Today's topic is cars you should not buy without inspection. You know what this is? This is a module in a hybrid battery pack. It's a positive terminal, negative terminal. Now, let me explain the title. Cars you should not buy without inspection. My video is not a blacklist. I am not here to tell you don't buy this model, don't buy that brand, don't buy that car. It would be lazy advice. The truth is more serious. And before someone gets angry with me in the comments, let me make this absolutely clear. I am not saying these cars are bad. As a matter of fact, some of these cars are very good, absolutely good cars. But in Uganda, there are cars you simply don't buy with your own eyes. You buy with evidence. You buy after diagnosis. You buy after a test drive, after looking underneath. You buy after knowing what you are getting yourself into, what you are entering. Today's topic is cars you should not buy without an inspection. Because the cheapest inspection is the one you do before payment. Yes, before you make payment. And the most expensive inspection you'll ever do is the inspection you're going to do after the car is already yours. Like a hub, a car can be a good model, but it could be a bad unit. It could be reliable by design, but destroyed by a previous ownership. It could be a Toyota, but still tired. It could look clean, but still sick. So today what we're going to do, we're going to put these cars and models in what I'm calling the buying courtroom. The buyer's money is the victim. The seller, like always, giving testimonies. The car is the defendant, and my inspection is the judge. This is a coil spring. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 coils, but we're going to use 5. With each category that we're going to judge today, we will ask 5 questions. 1, why do people love this car? 2, why is it risky to buy it blindly? 3, what must be inspected? 4, who should still buy it? And of course 5, who should avoid it? And at the end of this video, I'll give you a checklist of the things you should look at before you buy a car in Uganda. Let us begin. So before I mention any car, let me make something clear. Some of the most dangerous cars, some of the money pits, are those cars with a good reputation. You see, when people hear the word Toyota, they relax. When they hear the car saves fuel, they relax. When they hear that's a hybrid, they relax. When they hear Subaru, they get excited. When they hear Alphard is comfortable, they forget inspection. When they hear Benz, a heavy baby, they forget the important points. And that's where we begin losing money. A good name does not cover bad condition. A Toyota can be abused. A Subaru can be neglected. An SUV can hide bad suspension issues. I mean, a new paint job can be hiding accident history. This is an actuator. It's a part on the ABS pump of a hybrid car. The hybrid ABS system is one of the most expensive. If they hide the lights, you will buy the car and you will face the consequences. A diesel car can have injector problems, DPF issues, AdBlue issues, computer issues, or engine issues even. When motoka ya diesel webe tokota ovi oyingo oyinzo rowoza itokota bulungi. Nze yantama. You see, when you're buying a car, you're not just buying a model. When you're buying a Toyota Alex, you're not just buying a Toyota Alex. When you're buying a Mercedes-Benz, you're not just buying a Mercedes-Benz C-Class. When you're buying a CX-5, you're not just buying a CX-5. You see what you're buying? You're buying previous ownership, maintenance. You're buying accident history. You're buying suspension work done. You're buying service history. You're buying maintenance history. Basically, you're buying everything that came before you bought the car. And this is where you must be very, very careful. So as we start the list, bro, see, so now let us start with the car that is going to be very popular in the next couple of months. Why is it going to be very popular? Because the fuel is expensive. Now, we're talking about the hybrid car. Hybrids. Now, some of the hybrids you guys will know, the Mitsubishi Outlander is a plug-in hybrid. I've seen a Nissan X-Trail that is a hybrid. We have the Aqua, the Prius, the Fielder. We have the CHR, the Harrier. So many hybrids around. And the reason we are buying the hybrid is because the hybrid saves fuel. So, of course, why do people have hybrids? They save fuel. The hybrids don't really look that nice. We only love the hybrids because we know we're going to spend half the fuel we spent in our previous car, right? People love it because of the fuel saving. The second question is, why is it risky to buy blindly? I mean, you walk into a bond, you say, I want a Prius, or you say, I want a CHR hybrid, I want a Harrier hybrid, I want a Nissan Serena hybrid, I want to buy myself a Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid. Why is it risky to buy blindly? Well, hybrids come with their own challenges. Now, the biggest challenge that you people think is the hybrid pack. That's the least of your worries. Do you know why? The kids here, there are kids on the block that can fix the battery. These are modules I got out of a car, a hybrid car. I have more of them. These are 5, they are 4. Now, a hybrid pack has more than these, probably 48 or 28 or whatever, depending on what car you have. These were the faulty ones. You know what that means? The full battery stayed in the car. We changed these. Like, what's your concern? Something that can be repaired in bits. The hybrid battery is not a problem. Let me show you one of the problems. It's big. ABS control, and then we have the pump here. This actuator. These things combined will cost you up to 4 million shillings. This is where the brake fluid goes through to go to your legs, kumaguru, to go to the wheels. Brake fluid goes through here. Now, you need to be very careful to not buy a hybrid that has these things faulty, because they are very expensive. And they can die simply because someone was changing a brake pad. They can die because you put the wrong brake fluid. They can die because the wrong technician worked on the car. You don't want to get that. Now, the other thing is the inverter itself. It dies. Yes, I know people have told you the inverter does. It dies. It overheats and it dies. And you know what? The thing that kills it is there's a coolant pump. It's in front there, engine bay. Now, when that coolant pump dies, the car doesn't warn you. You can drive for kilometers and you don't know that the coolant pump is dead until the inverter starts overheating. When the inverter starts overheating, then it starts losing power. Now, for Ugandans, as I know, it will start losing power and you drive it a little more. Or you start calling your mechanic and doesn't know what is happening, and that's how you kill the inverter. Most of the cars that don't have the original hybrid system, yet they were made hybrids, is because the inverter died and it dies. So now, if we add that to the battery pack, if a hybrid decided to die on you, you might end up spending about 12 to 15 million shillings trying to fix it. And if you get the wrong mechanic, you will also end up spending a fortune on that car. The next question is, of course, what must be inspected? Now, you see, the hybrid car is an electric car. You need to have a diagnosis machine. Not just any diagnosis machine. You see, I've seen mechanics that go to do inspection and they have those tiny OBD scanners that they'll put in, and those OBD scanners are simply check engine light. Why is it there? ABS Mumaguru. You need to have a diagnosis machine that can actually read the battery pack to see which modules are actually faulty, what percentage is the battery healthy. You need that first. But then you also need to know how things work. If the pump is dying, how does it sound? If the coolant pump is dying, how does it sound? If the fan in the battery pack is no longer working, you need someone that knows how to operate the machine to make it do things that will make you understand that the hybrid car is actually in good condition. Now, of course, someone is going to say, but we bought it without inspecting. We have driven it 2 years. Yeah, it's possible. Even during a war, some people make money. Some people are becoming billionaires. That is what they call luck. You could be lucky, but another person might not be lucky. That's why those things must be inspected. Now, of course, the question is, who should be buying the hybrid? Anybody that wants to save fuel and has the budget for the hybrid, because hybrid cars are becoming more expensive. Last year, 2025, a Prius was about 35 million shillings. As we speak now, it's about 40 to 42 million shillings. And as all cars are becoming expensive, but the moment the traders understand that you people want to buy hybrids, through the roof. Who should avoid the hybrid? Anybody that doesn't like to drive their car with windows up should avoid the hybrid. Anybody that likes to wash their car from anywhere, that likes to tell the person, anybody that likes to take their car to a washing bay, should not buy a car. The hybrid should be washed by someone that is really careful and they know where water should and should not go. That's the hybrid car. So if you're not careful, don't buy a hybrid. Next in the car buying courtroom is, guess what? Drum rolls, Subaru. Subaru. Now you see, every time someone wants to buy a Subaru, they imagine one thing: power, overtaking, Kuragako, Entebbe Express. They rarely think that it might actually cause you trouble. Some of the most popular Subarus are the Foresters, Imprezas. Of late, people are picking up on the Outback and Legacies. The people used to like the Legacy before, yeah? But people are picking up on the Legacy, and then there is a new one. They call it the B4, I think. Subarus are very nice cars, and obviously the first question is, why do people love Subaru? Number one, Subaru is cheaper than Toyota. Yes, Subaru is cheaper than Toyota. We want to save money. and obviously, number two is that Subaru is a symbol of power. The badge. Like when you're driving Subaru, it doesn't matter how weak it is, people will think it's powerful. People will think every Subaru is a race car. Because the people that don't know. Now, that's why the people love it. They don't love it because it saves fuel, but they love it because, one, it's affordable and they're not going to be underlooked. When I drive an Impreza, nobody knows it's a small car. They think it's you get, and you will enjoy it. The second question is, why is it risky to buy it blindly? Obviously, Subaru is more affordable than so many other car brands, but Subaru spares are more expensive than Toyota. Servicing a Subaru is more expensive than Toyota. It means if you buy blindly and buy a wrong Subaru, or buy the wrong Subaru, or buy a faulty Subaru, or buy a dead Subaru, you might actually end up spending a fortune, and you don't have a fortune. Starting from brakes, hubs, because remember, most of the Subarus are all-wheel drive, so if you're buying hubs, you're obviously going to be buying all the 4 hubs some of the times. When you go to servicing, you want to put the premium oils, yeah? And of course, the Subaru mechanic is going to tell you, even the brake fluid is different. This is a Subaru. That's what they're going to tell you. You get the lights, the body parts, because Subaru is Subaru. It's not so common. So the people that bring them, they'll sell it at the premium. So it's risky to buy a Subaru blindly because it's going to cost you a fortune, more than what any Toyota. Of course, it won't get to the hybrid, but it will cost you a fortune. Now, that's the third question is, what should be inspected? When you're buying a Subaru, number one, you always need to have a diagnosis machine. Always have a diagnosis machine. You see, Subaru is very interesting. Subaru made their systems very nice. You see, when you're diagnosing a Toyota, the computer, the ECM controls everything. Subaru has the transmission alone, the eyesight alone, the engine control alone. Almost every system is independent, so you can diagnose it independently. And that's a very good thing, because when you put the diagnostic machine, you can actually look at every system independently and see what's wrong with any of the systems that you want. Always have a diagnosis machine. If you don't have it, hire someone that has a diagnosis machine to look at it for you. Because if you don't, you might miss electronic issues, like in the gearbox, there are parts that are electronic that will die, that might require you to open your gearbox. Sometimes you just buy a new gearbox. Like, there is no damage externally. The gears at the time of buying are actually changing or shifting properly, but the gearbox is faulty, so you don't want to do that. And then, of course, after the computer diagnosis, you want to make sure you don't ignore the engine. Subaru engines, especially the late models, the FB, the EL engines, they can't be overhauled as yet. Ugandan mechanics don't know what to do for them. Even when they overhaul, it sounds like a generator. You don't want to drive a car that sounds like a generator. That's why people end up selling their Subarus. Make sure the engine is functioning properly, is sounding properly. They're expensive. Now, you also want to make sure that the transmission shifts the gears properly. You want to make sure you don't have a leakage anywhere. Of course, the diagnosis, the computer diagnosis showed you the electronics and how they work. Now, you need to go under the car. Once you know car, under the car, look at every component individually. Look at the suspension. Is it intact? Does it need some work? While you're looking at it, even when you have confirmed the major things are okay, you want to make sure that these things in the suspension are repairable, because they're expensive. And then you need to test drive the car where you can. In the bonds, you can't test drive. Well, there are bonds that have big spaces. You can drive from here to there, but still that's not an enough test drive. Normally, the test drive, especially if you're buying a used car, you need to test drive for about 5 to 10 kilometers. And then, of course, that's constant driving, accelerating aggressively, going a little bit slow, hitting the potholes, hitting the humps, going uphill and downhill, different driving styles. Now, being a Subaru, and being that most of the people that buy them drive them recklessly, I don't know if that's the word, but yes, most of them drive them recklessly. You want to check the body and chassis to make sure you don't have accident history. And of course, some accidents, that's where the carrier inspectors like other come in to spot the tiny things, the tiny details that you might not see. You need to look at the pillars, all the pillars being intact. You need to look at the front and the back to make sure it's intact, and then you need to look at the roof as well to make sure that it's intact. There are signs that you could use to see if the car's been involved in an accident, and to see which accident was serious and which one was not. Never ignore all those things. Now, of course, the other question is, who should buy the Subaru? Anybody that has the money to buy a Subaru, because Subarus are more affordable than Toyota. Like I've seen in the past, almost everyone that bought a Subaru Forester wanted a Harrier. You could not afford a Harrier, they bought a Subaru, because the Subaru is more reliable than other brands. It's more affordable than Toyota. And then of course, anybody that thinks they can maintain the Subaru properly should buy a Subaru. Okay? And then of course, there are those speed merchants. I don't need to tell them why they need to buy a Subaru. But if you can afford it and can't afford if you can afford, let's keep it at if you can afford it. If you can afford it, buy a Subaru. If you can afford to maintain it, buy a Subaru. And after you have bought it, maintain it properly. Who should avoid the Subaru? If you have anger management issues, or if you have anger issues, avoid the Subaru. It will test you. Subaru will test you. If it doesn't test you, a mechanic will test you. So if you have anger management issues, if you have patience issues, or if you're impatient, avoid the Subaru. The next cars in the car buying courtroom are the big comfort and status cars. Now, these cars might include the Velfire, the Alpha, the Mark-X, the Nissan Fuga, yes, the Harrier, all those nice cars that you like to buy. That would include the X-Trail, the Outlander, and these are cars that people buy because they want to feel comfortable or they want to appear classy. You could make them the Ronaldo, you get SUVs, vans, and sedans that are comfort driven, like the Fugas. Now, these are cars. Why do people love them, first of all? Now, people love these cars because when they're driving in their village, okay, this tire came off of a Mark-X. Now, they put a bigger one. They put a bigger tire. Of course, this was worn out, but the person put a bigger tire because, well, the ground clearance had to be lifted. Now, these cars, people love them because they give them class, they give them status, and of course, for the men, they get the baby. They are cars that women sit in and somehow they just say yes. I also don't know. I don't have an answer for it. They just say. So these are the cars we're talking about, like the Alphard. Like recently, we bought a 2019 Toyota Alphard at I think we bought it at 95 million shillings. Now that's a car that a woman would love to sit in when you're her man. Well, some of us we just can't afford them, and so we end up putting the women in the Vitz. And it's not our fault. Our parents just did not either work so hard, or we are just not hard working, like Uncle Mo would say. But people love them because they give them status, they give them comfort, and people respect them. When you're driving a Mark-X over a line of humps, and when you're driving a Sienta over a line of humps, there is clearly a difference. And when you're driving a Harrier over a line of humps, when you're driving a Suzuki Escudo over a line of humps, there is a difference. Yeah, so these are cars. In the past, people used to drive the RAV4 because it was status. That's why people love them. Now, the question is going to be, why is it risky to buy them blindly? Cars like this, the cars that give you comfort, the cars that give you class, these are cars that take long to die. Tezifafa. One, they have big engines. And the big engine is one of the hardest to kill. But when you kill it, it's one of the most expensive to repair. Sometimes you can't repair it, you just have to buy another one. Because they have big engines, they have bigger gearboxes. And gearboxes, the bigger it is, the more expensive it is to buy, obviously. Now, because these cars aim to give you comfort, the suspension as well is expensive. The electronics are too much. I mean, my Vitz, some of you guys know the truth. My Vitz, like if I want to lift the height of a seat, I just do. If you want to lift the height of a Mark-X seat, you press a button. Same thing with Alphards and all those cars. Now, some of these cars have power doors and they have AC in the rear and all, which makes them very comfortable. Now, the more electronics there are in a car, the more expensive it is to repair electronics of the same car. So you realize it's not wise to buy that car blindly, because any slight mistake will cost you a lot of money. And the other reason why you should not be buying these cars blindly is because nobody wants them. At least nobody that is like me. And people like me buy a lot of cars. People like you don't buy a lot of cars. And people like you, when they buy cars, they want to buy new cars because they have the money. So if you're selling a used luxury car, it's probably the only reason why the Mark-X is cheap, because the Mark-X doesn't die. But how many people actually buy a Mark-X when they want it? Most of the people end up buying a Mark-X because it's the money they have, and then they get the comfort as as an addition. So because not so many people want to buy these luxury vehicles, the resale value is low. Now imagine buying a car that has low resale value in good condition. Only this time you buy it in bad condition. Then the resale value that was already low becomes lower. You are losing money. Now imagine buying that car with faulty electronics. And I've been telling you time and again, guys, electronics are some of the hardest things to fix. Mukawaya kako tuse bayizo kano nyane kabula. Busimanya fuse yakubye bakugisamu gearbox. Smart battery techarginga. Okanise osibye yingini. So you need to be very careful, and you should not be buying blindly. Now, what should be inspected? I've literally said everything that should be inspected. The engine, the transmission, the electronic system. Always have a diagnosis machine with you. If the person inspecting your cars doesn't have a diagnosis machine, get a more expensive one. Because your person is cheap. That's why he doesn't have a machine. And of course, you need to look at the engine, transmission, electronics, suspension. But because all these cars are luxury vehicles and people don't repair them often, but when they repair them because it's a luxury vehicle, they can hide cosmetic issues because the people that own them have the money. So you need to look at the chassis, look at the body to make sure it doesn't have accidents. Yes, luxury vehicles get accidents. And you see, the people that drive these vehicles, they have a lot of money, so they can fix it at premium garages. Now, premium garages have all the tools to pull the car, to pull out dents, so they can easily mask them. Now, they mask them for you to buy, but when you're buying, you'll not be able to afford the premium garages, so you'll end up losing a lot of money. Question number 4, who should be buying this car? Anybody that has money, first of all, to buy the car, and secondly, a person that has the money to fuel and maintain this car. Fuel is a very important thing. Most of these luxury vehicles have engines starting at 2.4 liters and above. Some have 4.7. Last time I was inspecting a car for someone, and we went to a Uganda, and we saw a Toyota Crown, I think 1994. It had a 4.7 liter engine, petrol. That 4.7 liter engine is the same in the Toyota Cygnus. Cygnus is an SUV, almost equal to a Land Cruiser. If the engine is in a Cygnus, how is it in a Crown? How are you going to maintain the fuel efficiency? So you need to make sure that you can actually afford to fuel and maintain your car. Now, who should avoid it? Anybody that is not rich, anybody that doesn't have a lot of money. If you cannot afford a car that will give you 7 kilometers per liter, don't buy these luxury cars. Don't buy the Toyota Alpha, don't buy the Fuga, don't buy the Mark X, don't buy which other car? Outback. Don't buy all those cars. Yes, they may be comfortable, they look sexy, but you don't have the money, so don't buy them. The 4th car in the car buying courtroom is, guess it by looking at the tire. Yes, diesel pickups and SUVs. Okay, there are some small diesel cars. I've seen a Toyota Auris with diesel. Why would you buy a small car with a diesel engine? Of course, the question is, why do you have the tire there? For effect. Some of you guys don't pay attention unless someone has done something extraordinary. Now you have thought that I would put this tire here. I've put it. So anyway, let's talk about diesel cars. There is blue smoke, there is black smoke, there is white smoke. If you can, avoid any car that is diesel and smokes. Even when the sellers say it has been packed for some time, okay, this doesn't just apply to diesel, it applies to all cars. Avoid the car that smokes. Of course, now we are going to ask ourselves the first question is, why do people love these diesel pickups and SUVs? Well, status. With some cars, it's just better to buy diesel, like a Land Cruiser. Petrol will consume a lot of fuel, diesel will consume a little less. Petrol on a highway doesn't give you as much power as a diesel. You get so that, and sometimes people buy them because their organization said you need to buy a diesel. And for some people, well, they don't know. They are just buying it because the person told them they are diesel. They are diesel, they job this over. Some people should actually be buying petrol, but they are diesel. You get, but also because majority of the time diesel engines in the same car are smaller than petrol, and that means the consumption is normally less. But the second question is, why should they not be bought blindly? Now, diesel cars are some of the most expensive cars to maintain, if you didn't know. Service of a diesel car, proper service of a diesel car. Back when the time so-called synthetic oil. Proper service of a diesel car will cost you upwards of 700,000 shillings. Now, of course, someone is going to say, but I get 10,000 kilometers. Yes, I also get 10,000 kilometers in my Vitz, and service costs me 250. And that's because I want to do synthetic oil. Diesel cars, trucks, SUVs are very expensive to maintain. Look at this tire. This tire is 265/65. The rim size is 17. This will probably cost you about 700,000 a tire. 1. 2 tires, 1.4. 3 tires, 2.8. You get. How many Ugandans can afford to buy tires at that price? And you know, with these SUVs, they remove tires that are almost as new as this. And for those cars, it no longer works. If this tire was on Sekatawa's Corolla, he would be driving an extra 2 years. But it was removed and they put new tires. Just imagine that. Now, the engine service is also a thing But also, the advantage with diesels is that the engines can be overhauled. They have mastered that. But imagine buying a diesel engine that has a turbocharger. Yeah, the turbo gets a problem, it gets a leakage. Yeah, imagine the injector problems. Some of the newer cars have DPFs. Imagine the DPF gets blocked and the mechanic doesn't know what to do. Oh, he just wants money out of you. Yeah, imagine you have a car that has AdBlue and you don't want to remove it. Or if you want to remove AdBlue and the DPF, they are removed badly. Just imagine that. The car loses power, the car stalls, and all those things. Now, if you buy the diesel car blindly, because you see it looks nice, and some of these diesel cars look nice. We bought Hilux, Toyota Hilux, we bought it at 45 million shillings. Now, some of the cheap Hiluxes were 32, 33, all had bad engines. But for a lay person, you would not know it's actually a bad engine. But they were bad engine. And some of the Hiluxes that you guys are going to buy will have the 1KD engine. Avoid the 2KD, it's a little bit weak. And for the older models of the Hilux, for example, you'll find them with the 5L or the 3L. Still be careful. Overhauling a diesel engine will cost you upwards of 5 million shillings, starting around 3 million. Overhauling a petrol engine, especially Toyota. Most of these other types, overhauling is useless. But apart from Subaru EJs, Subaru EJs can be overhauled properly. Now, overhauling a petrol engine normally costs between 800,000 and 1.4. Do you see the difference? It's huge. So if you buy blindly because, well, the person selling me the car is my uncle's friend. Your uncle's friend can be a thief. Your uncle's friend can be a mufere. Your uncle's friend can be dishonest. So don't buy blindly. Always inspect those cars because the effects of buying blindly are going to be fatal for you. Don't buy blindly. Of course, the next question is what should be inspected. The obvious thing is make sure the engine is good. Yeah. Make sure the transmission is good. If it's automatic, the gears should engage properly. If it's manual, make sure no gear actually pulls out. Gear tezibuka. Which thing is now the injectors. Make sure that the fuel system is okay. The fuel system spoils those, disturbs those cars. Make sure the turbos are good. It has a turbo. We did a bi-turbo Ford review some time ago. Make sure the turbos are good. But these cars, because most of them are body on frame, make sure the frame is actually intact. Because if you buy a car that has a bad frame, you might end up having to swap out your frame, which is very costly. You get. But also, because it's body on frame, make sure the frame wasn't swapped out. Babikola, they get a frame that is fresh, frame number is different, they give you a logbook says something else. Just one time, Ministry of Works will mount a chiddo. They'll come upon your car, they take it, they say bring the logbook. You bring your logbook, is different from what is on the chassis. Don't buy blindly. It's very expensive to maintain diesel, but it's even more expensive to fix diesel. Now, who should be buying diesel trucks, diesel pickups? Anybody that does long distances regularly. Omutungo vuga engende mpavu. You go to Gulu regularly instead of buying a small petrol or a big engine petrol car. Buy yourself a diesel. Diesel will give you value for money for that. If you are the kind of person that works up country but you want to come back to your family in Kampala every day, or you work in Kampala, want to go back to your family in Gulu every day, go ahead and buy yourself a diesel. Don't buy a diesel. Now, who should not buy a diesel? Don't buy a diesel if you work in Bukoto and stay in Tinda. You work in Chisas, of course someone is going to say, Atenze Mbera Gayaza. Gayaza ne Kampala Siwada, that's about 20 kilometers. That's very small. The DPF is always going to be blocked. And it costs about 1.6 to 3 million shillings to remove the DPF. Very expensive. You get it? And if it's not a DPF system, the fuel lines, just don't buy diesel if you drive short distances. Now, guys, we have had the categories. Now, of course, there are more categories, and I'll bring them in future videos. But these categories were very important for us. And those were the defendants. The cars, the defendants. This is the car buying court. Inspection is the judge. Now, I told you need to have an OBD scanner or a diagnostic machine all the time. This is a different one. It works with a tablet. This is a different one. Of course, it has additions. Oscilloscope, they call them things. These are two different diagnostic machines. You could get a bigger one or you could get a smaller one. There is one that is smaller than this, still does the work. But like I said, when you're doing inspection, always have one handy. The more functional, the better for you. The better for the car owner, because the inspector so I have a diagnostic machine. Now we are judging. What are the things you should look at all these cars? Of course, we have talked about all the things you should be looking at with all the cars. But basically, you should never ignore any part of your car. What means is you need to go for inspection. You're going to buy a car with an inspection person or a team that has an all-round experience. A team that knows how a good body looks like, how an intact chassis is, how a good engine sounds, how a good engine performs, how a good transmission sounds, how a good transmission. We talked about hybrids. How is a good hybrid battery supposed to function? How many minutes does it take on battery alone before it goes back to the engine? Someone needs to be all round. I know kubanga buli chimanyi so, and of course there is a mistake that I see most of the times people making. People think a mechanic inspects. There is a reason why we have, even in medicine, there are departments. The lab guy is different from the nurse is different from the doctor. They are all different from the x-ray dude. You get? So what the x-ray dude knows, yes, the x-ray dude knows a bit of what the doctor knows, and the doctor knows a bit of what the x-ray dude knows, but the x-ray dude is good with x-rays. The lab guy is good with labs. That's why you see in the clinics where the doctor is everything, people die a lot. Like he's a jack of all trades and a master of none. So anyway, always make sure that your inspection judges which car is good for you. I might say the diesel is bad for you, when in actual sense the diesel is good for you. I might say Subaru is bad, when in actual sense the Subaru is the best car for you. I might be here saying, don't buy a Mercedes Benz. No, you got a Mercedes Benz. Is your car. And of course, in future videos, we'll be giving you the list of luxury vehicles you should be buying. You, not the very rich. I know whenever you can afford a simple luxury car, you start thinking you're rich. I'm going to make for you. Well, thank you very much for being part of this episode. And I know we have made effect. I know you have learned. Yeah, don't forget, we are working towards getting 100,000 subscribers. If you have not subscribed, shame on you. Yeah, shame on you. How do you watch someone's video to this level and you have not subscribed? Subscribe, you! And hit the notification thingy so that every video that comes, you see. And don't forget, I do live broadcast every day, every morning, Monday to Friday at 7:40 a.m. And also Saturday and Sunday. We have a Chimeza Chemoroka on Friday evening. And the Love for Cars convention is happening 29th August. The ticket will start selling at only 30,000 shillings, no meals included. The entire day's program from morning to evening will be part of it. The people that came last year really enjoyed. And I'll be giving you the link to the event website very soon. Until next time, ciao.